Lesson 136. Was plus infinitive with to. Give me an example of was or were followed by an infinitive with to.
We trusted him completely, but we were to find out later that he had been lying all the time.
Slight. What do we mean by a slight headache?
By a slight headache, we mean a headache which is not very strong.
What do we mean by a slight delay?
By a slight delay, we mean a delay which is very short.
What then does the word slight mean?
The word slight means small and usually unimportant.
Upside down. Right way up. What am I doing?
You're turning your book upside down.
What am I doing?
You're turning your book the right way up.
Feather. Is it true that birds are the only animals in the world that have feathers?
Yes, it's true that birds are the only animals in the world that have feathers.
Wear. Sleeve. Mend. Worn out. Exhausted. What would happen if I kept rubbing my sleeve on the edge of the table like this?
If you kept rubbing your sleeve, you'd wear a hole in your sleeve.
What do we do with clothes that are worn out?
We mend or throw away clothes that are worn out.
If I told you I was feeling worn out, what would I mean?
If you told me that you were feeling worn out, you'd mean you were exhausted.
Qualification. Which do you think's more important for finding a new job? Experience or qualifications?
I think experience is more important for finding a new job nowadays.
Debt. What does it mean to be in debt?
To be in debt means that we owe somebody something, usually money.
If you don't manage your credit card account properly, is it easy to get into debt?
Yes, if you don't manage your credit card account properly, it's easy to get into debt.
Interrupt. Interruption. What do we say when we interrupt someone who's speaking?
When we interrupt someone who's speaking, we say, "Excuse me."
What do they say on television when there's an interruption?
When there's an interruption on television, they say, "We apologize for the interruption."
If only. What can we say instead of I wish when we want to be emphatic?
We can say, "If only," instead of I wish when we want to be emphatic.
Give me an example, please.
I hate this job. If only I hadn't accepted it.
Act. Capable. Do you believe all humans are capable of acts of great kindness?
Yes, I believe all humans are capable of acts of great kindness.
What's the best way to judge a person, by what he says or how he acts?
The best way to judge a person is by how he acts.
Bar. Lock. Which is heavier, a bar of gold or a bar of iron, if, of course, they are the same size?
A bar of gold is heavier than a bar of iron if they're the same size.
Would it be healthy to eat a whole bar of chocolate every day?
No, it wouldn't be healthy to eat a whole bar of chocolate every day.
Is it fairly common to find bars on the ground floor windows of houses in this country?
Yes, it's fairly common to find bars on the ground floor windows of houses in this country.
What do we mean if we say that the police have barred a road?
If we say that the police have barred a road, we mean they have put something across the road to prevent cars from going along it.
Why do clubs and pubs sometimes bar particular people from entering?
Clubs and pubs sometimes bar particular people from entering because they have behaved very badly on a previous occasion.
Cart. What does the expression to put the cart before the horse mean?
The expression to put the cart before the horse means to do things in the wrong order.
Give me an example, please.
Learning to read and write a language before learning to speak and understand it is like putting the cart before the horse, as a language should be listened to first, then spoken, then read, and then finally written.
deceive, complain, complaint. If an art dealer sold you a painting and then you realised that you'd been deceived about the value of the painting, would you go back to the dealer and complain?
Yes. If an art dealer sold me a painting and then I realised that I'd been deceived about the value of the painting, I'd go back to the dealer and complain.
Would you get complaints from your neighbours if you turned up your TV very loud?
Yes, I'd get complaints from my neighbours if I turned up my TV very loud.
Have you ever made an official complaint?
No, I've never made an official complaint.
Either side. Are there students sitting on either side of you?
Yes, there are students sitting on either side of me.
What and which? What's the difference between the words what and which?
The difference between the words what and which is that we generally use which when we are considering a limited number of alternatives, whereas we use what in a more unlimited sense.
Give me an example of each, please.
What's your address? Which address should I send a letter to? Your home address or your work address?
Faint, excitement, fear. What do people do when a faint smell of burning reaches their noses?
When a faint smell of burning reaches people's noses, they try to find out where it's coming from.
Why do people faint?
People faint because of excessive heat, excitement, fear, pain, etc.
Happen to. Give me an example of happen to, please.
I happen to know several people who work for that company.
When you happen to see someone you know on the street, but it's someone that you don't particularly want to speak to, what do?
When I happen to see someone I know on the street, but it's someone that I don't particularly want to speak to, I look into the shop windows.
Outwards. Inwards. Does your front door open outwards or inwards?
My front door opens inwards.
Lean. Beneath. Give way. What am I doing?
You're leaning on the table.
Why does the Leaning Tower of Pisa lean?
The Leaning Tower of Pisa leans because the ground beneath one side has given way.
Mankind. What do we mean by mankind?
By mankind, we mean all the people in the world in general.
Mate. What's an informal word we can use instead of friend?
An informal word we can use instead of friend is mate.
Zoo. Cage. What would you do if you were looking at a tiger in a zoo and suddenly noticed that its cage was slightly open?
If I was looking at a tiger in a zoo and suddenly noticed that its cage was slightly open, I'd tell the zookeeper.
Monkey. Ape. Closely. Which are more closely related to humans, apes or monkeys?
Apes are more closely related to humans.
Idiom 37. Snap decision equals a quick decision, fast, like the snap of one's fingers. What does the idiom snap decision mean?
The idiom snap decision means a quick decision.
Give me an example, please.
Although it was a snap decision, it was the right one.